Howard joining us now on the Sunrise Morning Show from In Defense of Christians. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Annie. Happy Election Day.
Hey, thank you. You too. And as I was just saying, Washington is going to look different in January. We don't exactly know how different just yet, but it's going to be different, at least in terms of Congress and possibly the White House as well. And so looking back on the past couple of years in Washington, what have been the big successes in terms of international religious freedom?
Absolutely. Well, I think that there's credit to be given to both Democrats and Republicans. I think that the Trump administration has done historic work, and so has Congress. I would point to President Trump's direct aid to Christian victims of ISIS, and I would also give a lot of credit to Congress, because what we really saw here was leaders such as Democratic Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, Republican Congressman Chris Smith come together and work with pass a resolution in Congress, in the House and the Senate, and we've seen Vice President Pence oversee $330 million in aid to these victims in ISIS. So, even in these difficult times we find ourselves, people are still working together to help the persecuted. I would also point to President Trump's executive order on international religious freedom. That was strong and historic. We also want to thank Majority Leader McConnell and Speaker Pelosi for congressional recognition of the Armenian Christian genocide. So great things have been done. However, life for Christians in the Middle East is still extremely difficult. There are definite areas for improvement and correction. And so our goal is just going to be with whatever happens with the election today is just to continue what's been good and successful and correct what needs to be corrected.
Well, let's talk about what needs to be corrected in the eyes of In Defense of Christians. What do you hope to accomplish moving forward?
Really, our moving forward, we are focused on two objectives that certainly will be no surprise to you or your listeners based on previous conversations. And basically, our goal is going to be, number one, saving Lebanon, and number two, stopping Turkey. We are really in a situation now where Lebanon, the last bastion of Christians and Christianity in the Middle East, is at risk of seriously destabilizing. And many there are concerned it could even implode into some kind of sectarian conflict. So we want to work really hard to promote what the Maronite Catholic patriarch and also a cardinal, a member of the College of Cardinals, Cardinal Rai, has called for active neutrality. We want to make sure that Lebanon can be the Switzerland of the Middle East and thereby incubate itself from regional instability. And American engagement is incredibly important to that front. So we're really looking at things like humanitarian aid, which really both the administration and Congress need to increase, because the extent to which the damage was done from the August 4th explosion was devastating. That needs to improve. But also we would give the administration and Congress credit both for supporting the Lebanese armed forces, which as a respected non-sectarian security force really proved that Lebanon does have a future, that there are institutions that Lebanese of all sects can trust. And the second thing I mentioned here was stopping Turkey. Turkey is completely out of control. As you know, right now, a NATO ally, you really, when you're an ally with a country, you should have some shared set of interests for them. They're not a country that's an ally is not supposed to use its partnership with the United States to leverage us or to bully us. And what we've really seen here is Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, or the Sultan, if he likes to think of himself as, is bullying the U.S. He's persecuting Christians in Syria, in Iraq, in Artsakh, in Cyprus, in Nigeria. He's obviously purchased S-400s. He's violated, Russian defense system there, just undermining the NATO alliance. And he's teasing the U.S. right now for sanctions, saying, do your worst, get them over with. And the way we respond to this guy is going to be really crucial for Christians in the Middle East moving forward.
And, I mean, just to kind of piggyback on that, because we've been seeing so much violence in this disputed territory with Armenia and Azerbaijan, I mean, what is kind of a small Christian community, I believe, is at risk of just being demolished, right?
Absolutely. And make no mistake about it. I mentioned this on your show once before, but I'm going to mention it again just because it's devastating. Turkey is doing something really frightening, okay? Number one, it denies the genocide that took place 100 years ago. Over 3 million Christians were killed. And when we look at the groups of Christians that were killed, we're looking at, Armenian, Assyrian, Syriac, Chaldeans, Greeks. Okay, and then when we look at the Christians that Turkey is actively persecuting today, it's Greeks within Turkish borders. It's Greeks in Cyprus. It's Syriacs, Assyrians, Chaldeans in Syria, and it's Armenians in Artsakh. I don't think it's a coincidence that they're persecuting the same Christians today that were killed a century ago. And Erdogan himself has called these Christians, quote unquote, remnants of the sword. So I think his language speaks for itself.
Remnants of the sword? Seriously?
I'm unfortunately not kidding here. This is someone who's even publicly praised Hitler in past comments. So the reality is there are people. Michael Rubin at the American Enterprise Institute has said it. The State Department has a Turkey problem. And the reality is Congress and multiple administrations really have not dealt with Turkey well. Turkey policy has been a disaster. For decades, there was a gag rule on the Armenian genocide being recognized. Congress broke that, but that pressure is still there. And there are people in our bureaucracy federally in the foreign policy establishment who are still very pro-Turkey. It's shameful. I think the tide is shifting and changing, but we are going to be very, very laser focused on saving Lebanon and stopping Turkey moving forward.
And as you started off our conversation stating these are bipartisan issues, and so you'll be working with anyone willing to work with you in Washington, right, Stephen?
That's right. And at our summit in this last September, we had a wide variety of speakers, ranging from people such as Congressman Dan Crenshaw, who's kind of a conservative rock star, to people such as Congressman Ro Khanna, who was a high-level surrogate for Bernie Sanders. So when it comes to coalitions, we know how to build them. While our victories have been bipartisan, the reality is the challenges are too. And so we will work with anyone, and we will praise everyone for accomplishing what they do, but we are going to hold everyone accountable.
As you should. We've been talking to Stephen Howard. And Stephen, if listeners want to look into more of these issues we've discussed today and all of the other work that you do, how do they get in touch?
Well, a great way to learn more about the issues in light of Election Day is people can go on to indefenseofchristians.org and check out our congressional scorecard, which will show you the good things your members of Congress have done and also the bad things, so that you can bring these up with them and hopefully there'll be an improvement in policy moving forward.
Yeah, hold them accountable on our end as well. We've been talking to Stephen Howard from In Defense of Christians. You can find it linked at sunrisemorningshow.com. Stephen, thank you.
Appreciate it, Annie. Go out and vote, everyone.
Yes, go out and vote.